Here in this video we will compare three iconic gaming monsters, swarm monsters, the Tyranids, the Zerg and the Xenomorphs. We will begin by taking a look at their origins and their designs, then dive deeper into the gaming lore of these hyper-evolving genetic super creatures, things like their motives, their evolution factor, their hive structure, and how deadly they are in a galactic scale. So let's get to it, boys! Let's begin with looking at where these come from. The origins of the Xenomorphs, those creatures from the Alien franchise, are shrouded in mystery, with multiple explanations emerging from both the Alien movies and the expanded universe, including their games and comics about their creation. One theory from the expanded universe suggests that they originated from a distant planet called the Xenomorph Prime, evolving over millennia into the iconic biomechanical beings. They became apex predators, eliminating other species due to their super aggressive life cycle. Other origins include them being engineered as super weapons by the engineers or bred by the Druthaki aliens. Nevertheless, now they are regarded as being widespread across countless worlds in the Milky Way galaxy, residing in hives ruled by queens. The same goes with the entry from the Warhammer universe. The origins of these Tyranids is also a mystery, but they are known to have traveled through the intergalactic void for millennia before arriving in the Milky Way galaxy in large numbers during the 41st millennium. It is unclear from which galaxy they came from originally or how long they have been in the devouring path. They were thought to have been first drawn to the Milky Way by the Astronomicon when the Pharaoh's device overloaded at the Battle of Sotha during the Horus Heresy. Their name, the Tyranids, was given to them by the Imperium, and they were named after the planet Tyran, where they were first encountered and which they promptly devoured. Some believe that they may have been consuming other galaxies for eons, with some vague sources suggesting that they have already devoured 1,000 galaxies and have exterminated countless intelligent species over the course of millions of years. Now lastly, the Zerg, unlike the Xenomorphs and the Tyranids, have a clearly defined origin point and why they were created. The Zerg originated from a planet called Xeros, which was located near the core of the Milky Way galaxy. This planet, like many others, was seeded by life by the Xel'Naga, an ancient and powerful race. The would-be Zerg first emerged from a spawning pool on the planet Xeros, where a single genetic essence split into many life forms and multiplied greatly in number. These proto-Zergs competed for survival, with those consuming their counterparts evolving into the first true Zerg. This evolutionary process, based on consumption and survival of the strongest, became central to the Zerg's nature. The Xel'Naga created the Zerg with the intention that they would later combine with the Protoss and evolve together to fulfill a new Xel'Naga resurrection cycle. Now let's start comparing these cucarachas, starting with their different bioforms and then how they reproduce. The Xenomorph's basic form is the drone, which is just a bit larger than the grown man. They have biomechanical features and are highly resilient to any environment. They have acidic blood, which can corrode even the toughest metals known to man. Above the drone are the warriors, and then the Praetorians, and then finally the royal Xenomorphs, which include the Queen, the Rogue King, the Empress, the Titan, and the Queen Mother. Their life cycle, or how they reproduce, revolves around several steps, starting with an egg, also known as an ovomorph, which houses a facehugger stage. This facehugger, as its name suggests, latches itself onto the face of a host and releases an embryo into the digestive canal of the host that matures inside the body and emerges out of the chest and rapidly grows and matures into an adult specimen. The Tyranids are a bit different, as in their variants their bioforms are countless in shape, number, types and forms. But their most basic forms are the Gauns, which are bipedal with 2 pairs of arms and 2 legs, and they possess either melee weapons or ranged bioguns. They are encased in a thick chitin armor and can only be killed with heavy caliber weapons such as las guns and beyond that. Their most notable bioform, however, are the warriors, which kinda look like the smaller version of a Xenomorph queen with the huge head crest and multiple arms. Other bioforms include the large Carnifex, which are like their tank form variants, and the Trigons, which are subterranean, and then they also have the Gargoyles, which are airborne. The life cycle of these Nids are usually in the days or weeks depending upon the invasion timeline. They are created out of a collective biomass that had been accumulated by the Hive fleet from previous invasions, and they are born and they are made there, and when they die or when the invasion ends, they are dissolved back into the pools of biomass, which are then reclaimed back by the Hive fleet. Now, Zerg strains are diverse, each designed for a specific environmental condition, including some that can survive in space. These creatures have natural armor and weapons that can rival modern military technology in durability and effectiveness. Basic Zerg units like the Zerglings, they swarm enemies and gather resources for the hive. But among the most distinctive strains are the Hydralisk, which resembles a cross between a queen xenomorph and a snake. Zergs, they reproduce rapidly, likely through some form of asexual reproduction and the creation of larvae from specific organic structures that they make in their hives. The larvae are asexually produced from a hatchery. Then the larvae they mutate into whatever strain of Zerg the cerebrate tells it to. Each Zerg begins as an egg containing two types of cells, type A which generates various mutations and type B which eliminates weaker mutations. The resulting larva is a product of natural selection at the cellular level, composed of only the most robust of mutations. Now, what are their largest bioforms? The biggest bioform of the Zergs on land is no doubt the Ultralisk, which is the size of a 4-storied building by the end of the StarCraft Legacy of the Void game. That's their biggest land creature. Up in space, the biggest is the Leviathan, which is essentially a Zerg transport ship and are estimated to be around 11 kilometers long. The Tyranids' biggest land bioform are the Biotitans. The Hierophant is the biggest on land and it measures 13.45 meters or 44 feet tall, roughly the same size as the Ultralisk, while the bioships they have in space can grow to be between 10 to 20 kilometers long. On the other hand, the Xenomorphs are a smaller bunch, deadly as cosmic horror villains, but not made for advanced space-borne attrition warfare. As such, their largest form or variant depends on the host they impregnate with their embryo. The biggest one seen in the games is the Titan Xenomorph from the Aliens' Dark Descent, which could be around 12 meters or 40 feet tall, and in the comics their biggest form was the Deacon that integrated with what's left from the Prometheus ship and became a living mountain. The Xenomorphs sadly do not have a space-borne counterpart, and as such they depend on other species to latch onto in order to spread from world to world. So okay, let's talk about their hive social structure. The top-down social structure of these swarm aliens are diverse and complex to say the least. The Xenomorphs have their queen which lays the eggs, and they have the specimen at the top of the particular hive. Then in descending order of importance are the Praetorians, the warriors, and the drones, and the runners and smaller things. Each hive queen are indirectly ruled by either an empress in a populated world, or ultimately by a queen mother that oversees multiple planetary systems with its powerful psychic and telepathic powers. For a Tyranid, every bioform in itself isn't sentient at all. They are merely gigantic cells that make up a superorganism called the hive mind. This hive mind is the collective intelligence and consciousness of every bioform in the multiple hive fleets that are spread all over the galaxy and beyond that. Their hierarchical structure depends on what is important to the hive fleet at any given time, but there are certain types of bioforms with more nervous development that can act as nodal points to control the entire swarm. Lastly, the Zergs are kind of like a mixture of the two, with the swarm acting in unison as a superorganism, just like the Nids, but they are either ruled over by an overmind or a queen at the top, just like the Xenomorphs. Let's jump into another aspect in this comparison. So out of these three, which ones have the ultimate evolution factor? Firstly, let's take a look at the Zerg. So the primal Zerg evolved individually through a survival of the fittest process involving a food chain in their own planet within the swarm. And this evolutionary process is then centralized thanks to psionic linking. Later, a specific strain of the Zerg known as Abathur oversees the design and selection of mutations. While each Zerg is capable of undergoing primal mutations on its own, when a beneficial mutation occurs, Abathur can compile these genetic changes into a centralized blueprint. This blueprint detailing how the mutations occurred is then distributed across the swarm via the psionic linking or the network, enhancing the collective's genetic diversity and strength. Next, the Xenomorphs are parasitoids, meaning that they ultimately kill the host they inhabit. As revealed in the film Prometheus, Xenomorphs were not a byproduct of natural evolution, but were instead bioengineered by a distant humanoid race called the Engineers to serve as a weapon for planetary destruction. However, Xenomorphs are capable of mutating and evolving, as depicted across various films, games, and comics. Their evolution occurs through the chestburster stage, during which the embryo implanted by the facehugger consumes and incorporates DNA from its host. This results in significant differences between xenomorphs that develop in different hosts, such as from humans, dogs, or predators. These genetic changes can be passed on to future generations only if the chestburster is of the royal lineage, meaning a queen. Queens which are capable of producing ovomorphs or eggs that carry forth the DNA that had been incorporated. On the other hand, Tyranids evolved by absorbing genetic material from the immense number of species that they have consumed, enabling them to rapidly adapt to new environments and combat challenges, or to create unique bioforms tailored for specific occasions and missions. When Tyranids invade a planet, they devour all biological matter, extracting genes and important DNA that are then broken down into a genetic soup by reclamation pools and absorbed by the hive fleet. This material is analyzed and integrated by the non-queen, who adapts the Tyranid gene pool to include beneficial traits such as toxin resistance or enhanced strength and size. These traits are quickly communicated throughout the fleet, allowing the creation of new Tyranid strains tailored to specific needs or enemy tactics. This cycle of rapid genetic assimilation and adaptation makes the Tyranids exceptionally versatile and continuously evolving in the field of battle, which makes them the epitome of evolution in this comparison. Now let's take a look at their population and numbers. So the Zerg, like the other swarm species, use massive numbers to their advantage in any battle scenario, but the exact number of Zergs can hardly be ascertained. In the original 1998 StarCraft manual, the Zerg Brutes section say that the Tiamat Brute, it numbers around 6.5 million, and it is the largest and most powerful of the extended swarm, and the combined 6 swarms total to around 12 million at the start of the game. But due to their war with the Terrans and the Protoss and their overstimulated procreation cycles, they were said to have increased in number to 2 billion in just a matter of months. So by the end of the StarCraft saga, it is safe to say that the Zerg are at least in the tens of billions in number. The number of the xenomorphs are even harder to quantify, but it is known that it depends on the number of host population in a world. So in Aliens, the whole population of the human colony in LV-436, except for Newt, were turned to aliens. The population of the colony was 158, including Newt, and so therefore, excluding her, the total number of possible aliens there would be 157, give or take a few. It was even fewer in number in the first movie. However, in the lore, the planet of Xenomorph Prime was said to have multiple hives spread all over the world, and there were numerous queens under a queen mother. The population there would have been in the millions maybe, or maybe less, in the thousands or hundreds of thousands. And with the adjoining worlds, the Xenomorph race in that system would greatly depend on the hosts available, and yeah, therefore, they would at least be 10 times the number in their home world. Then lastly we have the Tyranids. They come in hive fleets, which are massive locust-like space swarms comprising of billions of bioforms, including the actual bioships, which are living spacecraft that are used to cross vast interstellar space and the void between galaxies. Their commander in the battlefield during an invasion is a huge bioform that is called a swarm lord, and it was stated to have a great connection to the hive mind, where it receives the psychic power to commandeer at least a few billion bioforms during an invasion. So if a few billion in one invasion is great in number coming from one of the splinter fleets, the total number in one unified hive fleet like Leviathan or Behemoth, for example, would easily number in the hundreds of billions if not trillions. Now it is rumored that Leviathan is but a scouting fleet for an even larger mass that will enter the galaxy in the near future. This means that the total threat level is beyond count and may number in the hundreds of trillions, more than anyone can comprehend. Lastly, before we end this video, let's take a look at their galactic threat scale. So as we can see, all 3 alien swarm species have a great galactic foothold. The Xenomorphs can be said to be the least of the 3 in terms of the level of danger that they can pose to an advanced interstellar civilization. They barely have the means to spread from one world to another and depend greatly on latching on to spaceships of other advanced beings in order to spread. On the other hand, the Zerg can travel from one star system to another with relative ease, and they have already spread throughout the Koprulu sector in the Milky Way and beyond that. They have traveled far, as they have been stated to emerge from the near center of the Milky Way from Xerus, so their level of threat is great and imminent. Now as for the Tyranids, this swarm life form originated from beyond the Milky Way and had entered the galaxy from the eastern fringes. They have now traveled halfway across the galaxy in a matter of a few hundred years and are nearing their eventual attack on Earth, or Terra as it is known in the grim dark. They are also believed to have devoured and extinguished countless other galaxies of life before coming to this one. So I can say that they pose the greatest level of threat out of the three. You know, the Tyranids. So in short, the Xenomorphs are somewhat of an interstellar threat. The Zerg can be considered an intragalactic or just a galactic threat, while the Tyranids are an intergalactic threat which have consumed numerous galaxies, so yeah. Anyway, that's the video on the Tyranid, Zerg and Xenomorph comparison and differences. If you like this video, then watch this other one as well, and if you want to browse for other Warhammer content, then check out our channel. So subscribe and like for support, and while you're at it, bang on the bell icon for notifications on new video uploads. Till the next time, take care, boys.